I'm Jordan Lulich. This is the Lulich Corner, and today I get the opportunity to sit down with Dr. David Moore, who's the current superintendent for the Indian River School District. So first off, I appreciate you taking your time, coming in, joining us, and sharing a little bit about yourself and the school district. So thank you.
Absolutely. Looking forward to the conversation.
And congratulations. I know you were recently named 2025 Florida Superintendent of the Year. So congratulations to you on that achievement as well.
Thank you so much. An absolute honor.
So before we get into the conversation, I'd love for you just to share a little bit about yourself, and then we'll start talking everything about the school district for Indian River County.
All right. David Moore, as you mentioned, Superintendent School District of Indian River County, starting what will be my 6th school year, which is very exciting to me. I've never had a job this long in my career. Okay. Really excited. So we've had a great deal of success. 5th highest performing school district in the state, out of 38th when I came here. So coming from Miami, looking for a place to serve as superintendent, really wanted to find a place that we could call home, while at the same time find a district that was the appropriate size so I can keep my hands in teaching and learning, the most important aspect of a school system. Got here 38 days later, a pandemic hit. So that was not so much fun.
Unexpected.
Unexpected. Learned a lot through that. I think we've learned a lot globally about public education as a whole as a result of that. But now on the other side of that pandemic, we continue to thrive as a school system and really kind of setting the stakes in the ground, saying, hey, this is what's possible in public education. We've got to this point, 5th in the state, which really prepares us to reinvent what public education looks like. So as we jump into the upcoming school year, it's just not about maintaining that top 5 experience. It's about reinventing a public school system that fully has designed itself in a way to meet the needs of all kids.
Well, congratulations for that. I remember when you first came into town, you were talking about your vision. And so I know you had very early on coming into the role of vision that Indian River County wasn't, being ranked 38th wasn't an acceptable ranking for the school district. And so what was your vision that you set early on? And what did you see for the school district?
Well, honestly, it was to agitate. And when I say agitate, I wanted to bring a level of awareness that we, as folks who live in Indian River County, shouldn't be satisfied of a school system that's 38th of 67. And, people who live here have a great deal of pride, and rightfully so. But I needed for everyone to be uncomfortable with the fact that we were underperforming as a school system. And what does a school system do? It serves its children.
Right.
So the initial job one is to agitate folks within the system by agitating folks who receive our product as a system. So that was the ultimate goal. And then the pandemic, which we just said, which was not really fun, but we leveraged that as well, because everybody across the globe had to respond to that and do things differently. Mm-hmm. So as we went into that pandemic, as we came out, the one consistent, well, it wasn't returning to the way that we were, but really creating a system where we're going to continue to embrace change and make change the norm. Change in terms of continuous improvement.
So really, the pandemic was an opportunity to pivot and change the status quo of the way we were doing things.
Yeah, well, you had to do things different. As you leveraged through that, you had to create new ways of work. So as we came out of it, a lot of folks wanted to go back to the way that it was. And what we wanted to embrace is, remember, hey, we're 38 of 67 before the pandemic, and we don't want to go back to being mediocre. We want to be the absolute best. So we got to continue to strive to improve our way of work.
So how would you describe, and I know you probably touched on this a little bit, but how would you describe student outcomes for the school district of Indian River County, particularly in terms locally as well as from the state perspective?
Oh, it just acts transformational. This is what transformational impact is all about. So at the end of the day, the ranking of 5th of 67 is solely on the backs of student performance. So that speaks to teacher quality. It's right where we need to be. I think if you look at public education as a whole, the shifts in state law is empowered the parent to make a choice, and make a choice in terms of where I'm going to educate my son or daughter. And it's no longer, hey, I live in this particular area, which means I go to this particular school. It is, hey, if I'm not satisfied, I can shop the market and go to a private school. If I'm not satisfied, I can shop the market, I can homeschool my kid and still receive state funding.
Yeah.
So it really is saying, well, we can sit back and say, hey, you live in this zip code or you get to go to this school, but we're not. That we are a full choice district. I don't think there's many counties in the state of Florida that could say, hey, every single school is a choice, is an option for parents.
So let's talk about that a
Okay.
little bit more, because what was it, 2 years ago, Governor DeSantis really promoted that school choice by allowing a voucher program for kids to go to private schools. And so what type of impact has that had on the school district? And maybe in the next 5 years, what impact do you think that will have on the school district, in really promoting more choices for students to choose from public school versus private school?
All right, we're going into the third year of full choice. But it's important to note 5 years ago, one of the first things I asked the school board to do, and they boldly did so, was to change school board policy so every single school can, in fact, be a school of choice. So transportation is provided. We had been doing that way of work because, similar to the governor, and what is the governor doing? He's sparking the opportunity for public school systems to reinvent themselves, to understand it's not a right, it's a privilege to educate our community's children. So for us, over the course of the next 5 years, is to continue to expand what the choices are. So as an example, how we've already responded to it, we're opening 4 new schools this year. They're not new buildings, they're not new schools per se, but we're transitioning to 4 K-8 centers. Why are we doing that? Because it's an option. There are families who thought, hey, I want my son or daughter to stay in a more nurturing, smaller environment, something very similar to what the K-5 or 5th grade experience would be. I don't think my son or daughter is ready for a middle school experience where you're transitioning to 7 different classes and they're larger schools. But prior to making that shift, it wasn't even a conversation for families because you didn't have the choice. So we're pushing out 4 of those this year. One is very unique. One is a new magnet school, which is a classical design, which means, hey, this will be one of 2 classical schools in the state of Florida that's operated by a public system that will be opening next year. The other is in Miami. And very different design. That allows us to kind of get back to the roots of a traditional education. There's parents have been asking for it. Charter schools are offering it. Obviously, a number of private schools function under the classical design. And there is this perception, well, public schools can't do that. Well, yes, they can. And we could do it at the absolute highest level. So we're offering that. As we come into October, I'm required to go back to the board and continue what the next phase of our innovation project will be. So we're looking at a smaller high school. So there's 2 A high schools in our community, Vero Beach Senior High School and Sebastian River Senior High School, but they're large high schools. We think that there's a demand to have a smaller, more intimate experience in high school. So we're looking at, is there a possibility of doing that? So we're doing it at all levels, and then each of the particular schools continue to innovate within their own programming to expand the offerings across the entire community.
So as far as new initiatives goes, you talked about, the opportunity to add some additional high schools. You also talked about adding K-8 for 4 different existing elementary schools. Are there any other new initiatives or projects that you guys are undergoing?
So we're always rolling things out. I mean, we can't have this conversation without talking about school safety.
Yeah.
So one of the big
Wanted to bring that up.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
there you go. Check that off the list right there. One of the initiatives that we're rolling out this year is a brand new program. Every adult is required to wear an ID. That ID next year will have a button on it that you push 3 times. Every adult, every campus. You push it 3 times, immediate response is coming. So say a child is sick, an adult is sick, and you need a response on campus. You push it 3 times, that service and support is immediately identifying where you're at, and the response is on its way.
Yeah.
Whereas before, I got to find my phone, I got to find the phone in the classroom, I got to do the intercom button thing. That all is there. Now, if you continue to push it, a larger response will come. It'll go right to our sheriff's office, their deputies on campus, and they'll come. So just in terms of when you make a choice, where are you going to educate your son or daughter? You want to educate them in the safest, most secure place possible, and that is one of our public schools. So we're pushing out that program in terms of safety. Another thing that we're really excited about is our Pillar program. And our Pillar program are key events throughout the school year where we're just not doing one event at a school. So as an example, you have the morning breakfast where we invite grandparents to come in, or the dads or the moms. They come in and they celebrate the morning. They have breakfast together, kind of as a school community,
Mhm.
connect parents at that same time. Some schools do those events and they do really, really, really well. Every single parent, regardless of the school, we need to make sure those events are happening. So we're going to do them all at the same time. And we're going to market with the voice of the public school system. I'm going to get on, shows like this and on the radio, and really ask every employer, hey, give your employee the day off or the morning off so they can go and engage and connect with their school. So really, really a solid focus on our community and allowing our schools to be like a hub of where we are in the community.
So, as a parent, what's going to protect my kids from school shootings? I think that's probably one of the hottest topic, especially in terms of public schools. Are there metal detectors? I mean, what type of protections? I know you definitely you touched on this with the device that
Right.
every adult will wear that's employed by the school district. But are there any other protections in place to make sure that we prevent any, like just Sebastian River High School had an incident not too long ago with a student with a gun on campus. So like what type of protections do we have in place to make sure that we can limit the possibility from that ever happening as far as a shooting goes?
Yeah, no, great question. So that incident happened because of the systems and the protocols that are in place. If these protocols and systems that I'm about to talk about weren't in place, that never would have happened. Those drugs would have been on the campus without us knowing.
Mhm.
But in every high school, there's a single point of entry. You go through the metal detection system. You'll still get to class on time, maybe a few seconds of extra waiting once the students figure it out. That system is in place. Very, very secure. The end of the day, one of the biggest strategies is students understanding and owning their space. And we want to give them as much flexibility and freedom as possible. So we implement a program that we have an app where it's anonymous reporting. And you have the opportunity to let us know what's going on without us without identifying yourself. When you fill out that application and you let us know what's going on, it goes to the principal of the school. It goes to me. It goes to our sheriff. It goes to the deputy. And we're obligated to investigate and clear every single incident. So the information that comes to us on the behalf of children to protect each other and themselves and the environment is absolutely 100% a driving force in terms of what we're doing.
So they're on this app where they have to
Yeah,
report the information.
yep.
So then they have their phones on. Every student has. Their
It's
phone?
on every device. So every single student is provided a device so they can go on there.
Okay.
It is marketed throughout the school. They click on the device and they say, hey, I heard Johnny saying whatever he or she may have been
Yeah.
saying. We can go, we pull them out of class, we see what the issue is, and we immediately resolve it. So that is a key initiative that allows us to really have a deep understanding, and kids are really, really good at using it and keeping us informed. We have protocols in place in terms of safety. We have security monitors in our secondary schools. We didn't have those 5 years ago. We had 2 or 3 where they're constantly monitoring the campus. We have deputies, multiple deputies at each of our high schools, as well as our secondary schools. They're woven throughout our campus. We have a code of conduct where it is non-negotiable in terms of upholding the expectation. You have a right to a free and appropriate public education, but it doesn't have to be in one of our high schools. We can send you to the alternative school. We can put you online. So if you're going to display behavior that isn't safe and secure, we have a seat for you, but you're not going to jeopardize the environment of everybody else. The training that our staff goes through to make sure everyone fully understands what to do, when to do it. I think in terms of marketing and selling our school system, I think that's a question everybody has to ask themselves. Am I going to send my son or daughter to a school that's going to have a deputy there that has the identified badges, case of emergency? Does it have all of those systems in place? Public school system does.
So as we wrap up, what's the vision? You talked about where we were, you talked about where we're at, and where are we going with the school district?
So, everything that we've done to this point was to get to the point where we are now. So, hey, we're number 5 school system. The work that we do in the next 5 years is not to sustain that. That should be a non-negotiable. We should be top 5 forever, if not higher, which we plan to be higher.
Mm-hmm.
but we're to this point to re-envision and recreate the experience. We embrace choice. We embrace the opportunity to reinvent ourselves. So we're at a point right now when I come back in 2 or 3 years, we're not talking about just a few 4 reinvented public schools, but every single school has been reinvented. We're a growing school system. We're looked at across the state and the nation as a public school system that is a full choice district that has options and opportunities for every child in the community.
Well, I appreciate you joining us. Thank you so much for sharing everything that's going on. We're out of time, but if anybody does have a question about the school district, about what we talked about, who should they reach out to and how can they learn more information?
So you just click the brand new app that we're pushing out and web page. If you visit our web page, you can click on visit a school if you want an interest on a school, information from the district's perspective, and you'll get an adult reaching out to you to connect and engage with you.
All right. Well, appreciate you joining us. Thank you so much for watching. This is the Lulich Corner, and we'll see you next time.